Sheikh Uthman ibn Farooq. Thank you so much for joining the Ansari Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you back on the
Barakallah fi.
show.
Mahmoud, great to be here. Love your show. May Allah bless you.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Sheikh, you know my love for you, and you know how much in high esteem I hold you for. When I was just 23 years old, I had just moved to Dallas. No one knew me. A lot of people had rejected to come on the show. I was getting into a place where I was like, man, should I even do this? And you came on the show actually at the height of your Dawah scene at that time. It was really picking up. And you
Alhamdulillah.
and you forfeited your time to go to the gun range in Texas and put on the cowboy hat and do the whole thing. To come at 8 in the morning to film with me in one of our most famous episodes where we talked about LGBTQ and all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? Simpler times, wasn't it?
Fun
Simpler
stuff.
times, yeah.
Yeah.
And now we, in 2026, are a year and a half into Trump's administration,
2.0.
2.0, the Iran war. And obviously, in the last 2 to 3 days, the shooting in San Diego in
Yeah.
your own community. Things have not been as simple as they used to be when we first met.
I mean, things are always complicated. There's always one fire or the other. Our community is feeling the hate that's been promoted nowadays, and it's getting to a level where it's very dangerous. People online like Laura Loomer and Jake Lang, or whatever his name is, Jake Lang, yeah, and Tommy Robinson, all these hate preachers are really stroking a false narrative and causing these young teenagers to carry out acts of violence against innocent people. The masjid that got attacked is a masjid that I used to personally go to from 1995 when I came to the deen until I moved away from the area. That was my regular masjid that I used to go to every day, multiple times a day. It's a masjid that, they have a Sunday school for children, and I've taught in before. And my own children went there, to learn Quran, and it's very close to me.
It's crazy what happened, and subhanallah, the leader, the imam, I believe, or I think it was the president of the Islamic Center, whoever it was, there were one of the things that shocked me about what they said, even though I don't think the brother meant it. It showed me the propaganda that we have accepted about our own selves. He said, "Alhamdulillah, just 3 people were killed."
Wow, that's
And
insane.
and he didn't mean that, because I know that what he really meant was we have, as Muslims, accepted our killing and our deaths in thousands to where hearing just 3 meant nothing. And I think we need to start valuing our own lives again. I think
100%.
when Amin Abdullah and please name the other 2 because I'm
So,
forgetting their names,
I
when
mean,
they passed away, that means something. We shouldn't say it's just 3 people.
no.
That's 3 humanities killed over.
There's 3 people who had children, who had wives, who had families, who had loved ones that had dreams and aspirations. Even one would be too many. It is true that their sacrifice saved 140 plus children that were in the masjid, in the full-time Islamic school there. It is true that their sacrifice saved many other people that were in the masjid that day that were able to lock down because our brother Amin Abdullah called that in. But all 3 of them, and the first one that I'll mention is the eldest of them, is Abu al-Izz. His name is Mansour. He was from Syria. He fled the persecution at the Assad regime in Syria and the cruelty that went on there to come to the US. And his sons, his family are very close to me. He is a human being, and his story should be told, and people should realize that this is somebody whose life meant a lot, not just to him, but to a lot of people around him. The first time I came to the masjid, he was the first person I saw there, because he used to be in the store right in the front. And the first time I went, I was dressed like a gang member. So, he yelled at me like as if, "Get out of here," because he didn't know who I was. He didn't know that I was Muslim, because at that time, I didn't know Islam, right? And then when I went and prayed, he was surprised, and he started speaking to me, and he's from the first people that spoke to me there. And then his wife, his sons, all were very welcoming. So somebody that I met in 1995, you can imagine, and every time I would go to Masjid Abu Bakr in San Diego, Masjid Abu Bakr Siddiq, that's the masjid, ICSD, I would see him right in the front, at the store, greeting me, saying salam, seeing my kids. When my son had his aqiqah, Yusuf, it was in that masjid. And he was, he's the coordinator there that helped me organize the multi-purpose room and be able to cook
He was a Syrian father.
He
I think
was.
he was in his 50s, 60s.
Older than that.
Older
Yeah,
sounds.
probably later
Oh,
60s.
wow.
Yeah. His son is Abu Mansour. He's one of the du'at with us at One Message Foundation that goes out and gives da'wah with us.
And who's the other brother?
Then there is Brother Nadir. He was the neighbor of the masjid. He lived across the street. And, I just recently, I was in San Diego and I went to Masjid Abu Bakr. And I remember I was walking in and I saw Brother Amin because he was right in the front. He used to greet us with that smile that he always had. And Brother Nadir was coming in and, I didn't know him well at the time. I mean, I'd seen him and he said, "Hey, can I get a picture?" And I was like, "Oh," and I was talking to him and he's like, "I live across the street." And there was another Moroccan brother that used to live there named Izzuddin. And I said, "Oh, where Izzuddin used to live?" And he's like, "Yeah, right there." And I just remember that conversation with him as well. And the third, our brother Amin Abdullah, who was a revert, somebody who accepted Islam. And when I met him, he was very early in his journey towards Islam. So he become Muslim, but he didn't know like a lot of things about Islam. And I first met him in a masjid called Masjid Taqwa. And then later, Alhamdulillah, at Masjid al-Nur, where he used to lead the salah. And we used to call him the Sudais of San Diego.
No way.
Because he would copy Sheikh Sudais's recitation.
Beautiful. And how many kids did he have?
He had 8 kids. He had some other that were miscarriage, but 8 living kids. And
they're all
mourning
their father.
Yeah.
Now.
And what's very sad is people like the hate promoters are mocking it. Like they're trying to say this is fake and this was a hoax. And you see the comments on X and Twitter. Alhamdulillah, I don't go online, but people send me these. It's really pathetic. People like Laura Loomer, who is an advisor to our president. She's somebody that has the year of the president of the United States. She's out there saying this is a hoax. And these are people that I've known for so many years. Their children are still mourning their deaths and you're mocking it. I don't understand.
Because our deaths mean nothing to them. And our deaths, therefore, became meaningless to us. And that's what's so... I was so shocked. Like, I was mourning these guys' deaths.
This brother Amin, he was such a wonderful person. I never saw him except that he was smiling, even when he was going through hardships. We sponsored him for Umrah as a revert, and we have a program where we sponsor One Message Foundation. We revert for Umrah. And during the Umrah, he got very sick. We had to put him in a hospital, and my son Yusuf was like by his side for hours and hours because, we were worried that he was going to pass away. And I remember, having this conversation with Yusuf, like, we got to send him back to the US. He can't complete the Umrah because, he's really sick. And I remember we spoke to him and he said, "No, I want to, no matter what, I'm not going back until I've finished because, I'm in the path of Allah. And if I die a shaheed, He was like that kind of a person. He had that dedication. And alhamdulillah, he did the Umrah with us. He felt better. And I'll share some of the messages he sent me from there. You'll just realize he was such an appreciative, wonderful, loving person, father, husband. I've never met anybody that didn't like him. When he would go to Masjid Abu Bakr, even if there were Christians or Jews or atheists coming to the masjid, he would greet them with a smile. He was at the front door. And he sacrificed his life to protect people. He could have run, he could have hidden like everybody else, but he engaged those terrorists who are not being called terrorists for some odd reason. But he engaged them in a firefight, even though he only had a handgun and they had semi-automatic rifles.
Is he the one that killed them or the police killed them?
So the facts are still coming out. Police did not kill them for sure. By the time police got there, everything was done.
Wow, so he probably still not.
So what happened, as we know so far, is they planned this. They wrote a 75-page manifesto. This was not some rage or some, random act.
Who inspired them?
A lot of the right wing white supremacists that have been spewing hate online, they mentioned that in their manifesto. One of the people that they mentioned by name was the Christchurch shooter from New Zealand, that he inspired them, the mass shooter who killed, I think it was 50 or some odd people in a masjid in New Zealand. And they copied, they wrote on their guns with white paint pens like he did. And they had a lot of hate inspired by people online. And this is why people like Tommy Robinson and Laura Loomer and Jake Lang that are out there promoting this anti-Muslim fanatical hate, not academic discussion, not a just taking pig heads and putting them on masjids and taking pork and putting in the face of Muslims that are praying. These types of people inspired these terrorists to go out and carry out this attack on a school. And they did it not at a time when it's Jum'ah, where there's a lot of people. They didn't do it at a time where a congregational prayer was going on. They did it at a time that the school was in session. So what law enforcement and others are telling us that the plan was to go attack the school and kill little children.
Yeah.
But when these terrorists attacked the masjid, our brother Amin Abdullah, may Allah accept him from the shuhada, he saw this, and instead of cowering or running like many may have done, realizing that these guys were armed to the teeth. Some of the police reports are saying they had 30 guns, not on them at one time. I don't know if they had multiple guns in the car, but they definitely had multiple guns on themselves, including semi-automatic rifles. And this is a 17 and a 19-year-old. So they got those from their parents. They can't even legally buy those guns. They had handguns on them. They had straight military fatigue. If you look at what they were wearing, it is like something out of the
movies.
Even their gloves are like combat gloves. They're patches, white supremacist patches that they ordered online and they were wearing.
So the FBI did not get a hint of any of this. These guys are literally gearing up.
Look, a lot of facts are still coming out, and I'm a facts kind of a guy, not a conspiracy kind of a guy. But it does seem like the FBI had been warned. That they were on the FBI's radar.
And I don't want to be remiss to say that Israel's and the Zionists and those who aided them's propaganda is the one that killed those 3 children. The UAE's...
Three adults.
3 adults, sorry. The UAE's propaganda, anti-Muslim propaganda, and there's reports saying that the UAE secretly backs Tommy Robinson, the man that inspired them. The UAE is the cause for these 3 Muslims' deaths. The Zionists are the cause for these 3 Muslims' deaths. And I think we as Muslim Americans should never forget that. Because when we look at this, I want to back up what I'm saying here. Okay. Investigations based on leaked documents from 2017 to 2020 revealed that the UAE paid at least $6 million to a Swiss intelligence firm to conduct covert influence operations and smear campaigns against Muslims across 18 European countries. These operations aim to label individuals, mosques, and organizations as extremist, often by falsely linking them to the Muslim Brotherhood, thereby fueling anti-Muslim sentiment and influencing policy. In November 2014, the UAE cabinet officially designated CARE, a Council of on American and Islamic Relations, CARE, an organization that proactively tries to help Muslims and has lawyers set up for when anti-Islamic hate happens or crimes happen to Muslims. That group was labeled as a terrorist organization by UAE. Mass Muslim American Society. We all know the mass ICNA, that all happens in Chicago. Mass was labeled by the UAE as terrorist groups. The UAE, therefore, has labeled all Muslim Americans as terrorists because we are, in some way, I go to mass events, we all go to mass events.
Well, I think that, so I mean, I don't believe Mass and ICNA are terrorist organizations, but I think you are stretching a little bit, though, because not all Muslims support Mass. Right? I mean, there are Muslims that disagree with them on many issues.
But obviously. They're the largest convention
true, but
holder in the United States for Muslims.
very true.
So if, let's say, the United States decides to pass policies agreeing with the UAE lobby that mass is a terrorist organization, under the Patriot Act, every single Muslim who's ever been to one of Mass ICNA's conventions is now able to be spied on by the CIA, FBI, and stolen from their homes, taken from their homes, and imprisoned, taken to Guantanamo, whatever they want,
Which would
just
absolutely
because
be
of this
wrong.
UAE law.
As I said, I don't believe those are terrorist organizations.
Yes, I agree.
But to say every single Muslim in America is, again, we want to stay within facts, right?
Okay. Swiss spy firm paid 5.7 million euros by UAE secretly blacklisted 1,000 plus European Muslims, including charity workers, women in headscarves, and a deputy mayor of Marseille. I don't know what that city is.
Who are these individuals?
And pressure their banks to close their accounts. The UAE secretly paying Tommy Robinson of the EDL under the table while building the prevent surveillance system used against British Muslims. UAE inspired 7-page dossier.
Tommy Robinson, where is that from? I mean, I want to understand.
These are independent investigations by Western. Can we pull that up? This is from Georgetown. This is our source.
And where did they get that information from? That they paid Tommy Robinson? Did they get receipts or?
I mean, this is just from. I mean, Georgetown has political analysts and researchers that look into funding.
First thing is, I just want to be very clear. One Message Foundation or me personally are not backed or supported or financially supported any government anywhere.
So you don't get any money from the UAE?
I do not get a single penny from the UAE.
Any UAE-backed affiliates, officials?
No officials, no government bodies, no organizations from the UAE back me.
Okay.
Not just from the UAE, not from Qatar, not from Kuwait, not from Saudi, not from Egypt, not from any government, not Iran, not any.
Okay. So what?
Any government,
okay.
Right? And I just want to make a couple of things very clear, right?
On this podcast, we cover many aspects of Muslim life, and one aspect worth deeply discovering is Muslim building, istimar, Muslim development. I mean, look around you. Your household items, your office supplies, your clothing. How many of those are Muslim brands? Muslims spend $9.6 trillion globally, but no Muslim brand is in the top 100. We buy everything, but we own almost nothing. That's one reason I was excited to learn about the Ayyubi Collective. The Ayyubi Collective is led by experienced Muslims producing and selling products fully online. They're advised by scholars like Sheikh Joe Bradford and Sulaiman Hani. Many have built multi-million-dollar Muslim brands and are now accepting applications from Ansari listeners who are interested in doing the same. So if you believe that Muslims should own more of the products that they buy and you're interested in being a part of the change, then this may be your way in. To find out how you can get started, even with no experience, go to the link in our bio or go to link.ayyubi.com/Ansari. Again, that's link.ayyubi.com/Ansari. Provision Capital is a Sharia-compliant real estate firm built on trust, scale, and purpose, with investments in residential real estate all across the United States, and their focus is ethical investing. Provision Capital has a historical annual track record for the past 10 to 15 years. Visit provisioncapital.com and join over 400 investors nationwide to begin ethically investing your money today. Invest in Provision Capital today and invest in an ethical future.
I do want to always be careful that when a kafir is telling us something, we need to verify it. I don't care if it's Georgetown or if it's MIT. We don't need to verify it?
Verify it, sure,
Okay,
but
so
I don't play the whole goyim game where, someone's they're goyim, they're kafir, they're dehumanized.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that if a fasik brings you some news,
but a fasik is different than a
fasik is less than a kafir.
But we can't.
A kafir is worse than of course we can.
We can't verify that these are kuffar.
Writers. But the university is not a Muslim university, right?
But it's not a kafir university.
So what is it?
It's just a university.
No, it's a kafir university because the whole board is kafir, right?
How do you? But isn't the definition of kufr? Isn't the definition of kufr to hide the truth deep inside you? Isn't that the definition of kufr? So how are we supposed to tell that someone is hiding? Meaning that someone knows Islam to be true and took that truth and hid it deep in their heart and covered it like kafara. Who are the original kafaras? The farmers who hide seeds in the ground. So isn't that what a kafir is? How am I supposed to know what's in someone's heart? Okay.
Is the Pope Muslim?
No,
Is he kafir?
I don't know. Because I don't know if he knows Islam to be
So,
true and hides it in his heart.
So I think linguistic definitions are one thing.
Yes.
Okay. For example, kafara can even mean the farmer, right?
Yes.
But shari'i descriptions are not that we have to know people's hearts. We don't need to know anybody's heart, right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to قُلْ يَهُ الْكَافِرُونَ, He doesn't mean that we have to look into people's hearts. But somebody who denies Islam, who does not believe in Allah, who does not believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously everybody today has heard about Islam, unless you're in an island somewhere far away. So if we were to say that if you don't know somebody's heart, then we don't know if they're kafir, then we wouldn't know anybody's kafir today. So all those ayat in Quran about the kuffar would be inapplicable today. That's not true, right?
That's actually an interesting point.
Good.
How to apply kuffar? But couldn't you argue then that the Prophet ﷺ was clearly the litmus test? Like he was a clear indicator?
Sure. So after the time of the Prophet ﷺ, how would we implement those ayat?
Yeah, how would we?
So those who know about Islam, even they don't have to have studied it, and deny Islam, whether in their hearts or not, or we don't have to get into all of that. This is kufr, right?
But they have to actively deny Islam, right? And we have to know that they actively.
Like, what do you mean actively, right? Like,
I want to make sure that we keep our.
So we have to differentiate between Muslim and kafir. When we talk about ahkam ahlul dhimma, for example, whether they're kitabis or not, those are kuffar, right? When you deny Allah, when you don't believe in Allah, whether you believe in something else, or you're an atheist, or you worship a cow, or you worship a human being, and you deny the Prophet ﷺ, that's kufr. And when a fasiq is a sinful Muslim, a fasiq, even if they bring you news, you verify it. A kafir is worse than that. And these sources that you're quoting, and I'm not denying whether they're true or not, I'm just saying we need to verify.
So as Muslims living and we are a rahmah to the alamin, we are a mercy to all of the world.
No doubt.
And that means most of the world is not Muslim.
That's true.
Therefore, most of the world is kafir.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? So then we're supposed to sit there treating them every time they say something
to verify it. Yes. 100%.
I mean, I understand verifying sources, but I don't think it's
even
exceptionalization
if you came to
a non-Muslim.
Let's just go through this, because I think it's important for us to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You as a Muslim, and I don't know you to be a fasiq, right? Meaning all I see is good from you, and I have husn al-dhan.
Yes.
Meaning I think good about my Muslim brother, right?
I appreciate that.
If you bring me, good. If you tell me, hey, it's Eid tomorrow, right? I take your word for it, right? But if a priest comes to me tomorrow and tells me, by the way, it's Eid tomorrow, I have to verify that, because again, he is a kafir. I mean, he's not Muslim. Now, why do we give them da'wah? Because we want good for them. If they weren't kuffar, then why would we be giving them da'wah? You understand?
So what do you want to know about this sourcing?
I'd like to know where they got this information from. I mean,
like for example, network behind Tommy Robinson. That's also the Guardian. How about the Guardian? Do you trust the Guardian?
No, I absolutely not.
They're
I'd like to know more. Are they?
Okay.
Good. But I mean, what I'm saying is, are there many things that Georgetown is putting out that is anti-Muslim, right?
I want to get to, just because we have to agree on truths.
100%.
Meaning like if everything is in limbo, every source is questionable, and every source is kafir.
You are way too intelligent to think that everything we read in the media on any news site can be blindly taken. Right? I mean the anti-Muslim stuff that gets posted out of many of these think tanks, out of these universities, many of these news agencies, is absolute nonsense. Zionists and others have shown us that they've played both sides of the aisle. I mean, I think
But I don't understand why they would attack their own tool, which is Tommy Robinson
again,
in the UAE.
This is the issue, right? Where sometimes, and again, all I'm saying is, we need to verify sources.
Yeah.
I get people that tell me the Pakistani government is working with Israel, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a person come and tell me that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's that information from? Like, where did we get this? Are we just going to assume it's the truth just because it's posted at a university site? And I do want to be clear, I'm not defending any government. I'm just saying we need to verify information,
I agree
right?
with you.
anybody that supports Tommy Robinson or the EDL or any of the Zionist works that are going on, I condemn.
Okay. So I will give you this. One honest caveat. As of these reports, no outlet has produced documentary evidence of direct UAE payments to Robinson. Bank records, contracts, leaks, or filings. What's been reported is circumstantial. A UAE visit by Emirati invitation, a sudden alignment of his content with UAE foreign policy priorities, anti-Muslim Brotherhood, Sudan, Yemen, and a wider documented pattern of UAE outreach to European right-wing
So
figures.
again, I'm not here to defend the UAE. I have
Okay.
nothing to do with the UAE other than it being another country that I visited. I'm not here to defend any country, and I'm not calling you to support any country.
Right.
I'm a Muslim. I call towards the Quran. I call towards the Sunnah. I call to the way of Al-Mustafa alayhi salatu salam and the Sahaba. That's where my loyalty is. If any government, whether it's the UAE or Qatar or Saudi or Pakistan or China or whatever, supports anti-Islamic efforts, I condemn that. Okay. The only thing is, I see a lot of times nowadays, and not just for the UAE, other countries as well, very blanket statements that people have taken as if it's fact. And this little exercise we did here is a good way to show when it turns out that we don't really know it to be fact. Now, could it be true? It for sure could be. And I think if anybody's promoting or defending, then they need to research that into actual sources. We've been played with this. And I'll give you an example. When we talk about people, why would they back somebody in that, right? As Muslims, when Joe Lieberman was running with Al Gore, we were played by Zionists to support Bush. And Muslims did in America. And Bush came out and did worse to us, right? Same thing happened again. When Trump was running, right? We supported Biden. Biden came into office and did all kinds of harm to the Muslim cause and to Islamic causes altogether, right? Then we were told, no, go for Trump. And we had Muslims stand on a stage and they're playing with us, right? This is why verification, looking into sources is very important, not just from, okay, well, why would they? Well, you don't know what their game is.
Well, for me, I told you this behind the scenes, that my litmus test is, don't quote me in the Arabic here, guys, because I'm going to paraphrase the phrase.
Just say it in English. It's all right.
No, I'll say it in Arabic
All right,
first. إذا قضى عليك الحق من الباطل فاتبع سهام عدوك. If you cannot tell the difference between truth and falsehood, if things are murky for you, then follow where the head of follow the arrow of your enemy.
Right.
And right now, my only enemy is Israel, and the arrow is pointed at Iran. And the arrow does not seem to be pointed at UAE anytime soon or other places. So that's where I take my strategic civilizational discussion and strategy and advantage. I do not talk about religion. I do not conflate religion. I do not conflate Shia versus Islam. I talk about strategy.
Okay.
Who is my number one enemy? Israel. Who is Israel fighting? Iran. Who do I want to win in that situation? Iran.
Good.
Now, do I want Iran to defeat Turkey? No, I do not.
Okay, so I like what you said. First thing is, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again, and I don't know why people somehow skip over this for some reason, but I'm going to say it again. If Kim Jong-un, the leader of North Korea, tomorrow, who is worshipped as na'udhu billah, as a god in his country, his people literally take him as a deity. If he attacks Israel to free the people of Gaza, I will support him. I will back him on that.
Same.
Good. But what I will not do is justify the shirk of his people worshiping him and saying, well, that's not really shirk. We're okay with them. They don't really mean that he's God. You know what? You see the difference there?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree?
I do agree.
Good. So if Iran goes to free Palestine, goes to free Gaza, 100% I back him. Okay? I'm not seeing that, to be honest, right? Because until April 2026, Iran hadn't moved against Israel directly, even though in Syria and Iraq, they sent military and all of that you can read, right? When the Arab countries, and again, this is pre-revolution, so I'm being fair here, had gathered against Israel, Iran was not there. Even post the Islamic revolution of Iran, in many things that Iran has admitted themselves. I'm not talking about some online university posting something that we cannot verify and things. I'm talking about where Ahmadinejad and others have quoted themselves saying that they worked with the US. And obviously, Israel was involved in the war in Iraq. I mean, you would admit to the atrocities that went up in Syria that Iran was openly involved in. I'm not talking about some kind of a human rights somewhere making a comment. I mean, there's videos of Farsi-speaking Irani soldiers inside of Syria shooting children. And I know people from Syria that were tortured at the hands, that they themselves tell Muslims that can sit and speak to you at the hands of Irani soldiers inside of Syria. And whether it's 750,000 dead Muslims or more or less, these were children that were killed with chemical weapons at the hands of the same regime that we're talking about. In Iraq, they admit to helping the US, right? In Afghanistan, a country where, the US was invading, Iran has openly said that they, and you can watch Ahmadinejad and others' videos with this. So what I'm saying is, if the criterion is that we back Iran against Israel, I'm with you.
Good.
But if the criterion is we justify their shirk as not being shirk, if we start saying, well, they don't actually curse the Sahaba, when they're telling you we curse the Sahaba. And cursing Sahaba is not a light issue. People take it like, so what? Imagine Aisha radiyanha, al-Mu'mineen, the mother of the believers, the one that the Prophet ﷺ was asked, who is the most beloved person to you? What did he say?
Aisha.
Aisha. When he was min al-rijal, from the men, what did he say?
Abuha.
Abuha. Oof, how beautiful is that, right?
Her father.
Her father. He didn't even say Abu Bakr.
Yes.
He meant Damir towards her. That's how much he loved her. And again, people who are sitting in front of you telling you that I may not do it in front of you, but I do curse them. I do believe they're munafiqeen and kuffar and they're la'na on them. I'm not going to justify that.
Right. That's
the distinction we should make, right?
Yes.
If Putin tomorrow, who is a communist, decides to help liberate Palestine, I'm all for it. Like, I'll back him on that political. But you and me would agree that if the fight is between them and the Muslims, right? Like you said, if tomorrow Iran fights Turkey, you wouldn't back them on that, right?
No.
And you would not justify their shirk saying it's not shirk.
No.
I think we made progress.
Yeah, I think so. And I think the difference is that we're no longer conflating religion with realpolitik, with understanding of how countries operate.
I just
right? Because I'm a fan of
good.
I'm a fan of how strategy and warfare.
And I'm not a political analyst.
So I will say this. Everything.
Sorry.
Just to respond to what you said there. Everything you said is true, but there is a context where you have to understand that Iran, like every other country in the Middle East, is trying to survive.
100%.
And
Thank you.
And the
That's
way,
what I've been saying.
Yeah, and the way they're surviving, yes, you're right. That actually was Israel in 1993 because of internal politics and Benjamin Netanyahu's application of the clean break. He's the reason why Iran and Israel broke ties. It wasn't actually Iran that broke ties with Israel. It was Israel that broke ties with Iran. Now, okay, I get that. But that is not the point of why my generation backs Iran. The point of why my generation backs Iran is what I already said earlier, which is the arrow of our enemy is pointed at them. That's all I care about.
Look,
now, I understand, and people should understand something you're saying, which is very important. Do not then conflate your ideology and your beliefs with that.
That's all I'm saying.
You have to understand that countries try to survive. Elites try to survive because they know that they're the first ones on the chopping block
100%.
Once the regime falls. So they maneuver according to, actually, you know who's more ideological than the Arabs and the Muslims? It's the Americans and the Zionists. Yeah. They operate more based off of ideological and religious beliefs. The Muslim leaders actually operate based off of more realpolitik. What's in my interest? How does my country make more money? What's my economic investment? True. And that's why it's kind of actually harder to navigate them.
When the Iran war popped off, I was in Saudi Arabia at the time, in the Haram, and I made a clip condemning it. You can go check it online. The day it popped off, I condemned it, right? And I said, why are we starting a war for the interests of Israel? And I had ChatGPT and asked who benefits from this, and it said Israel.
Mm.
And I don't believe in putting Muslim lives at stake. And the whole Middle East right now is on fire for the interest of Israel. And that war was something I very clearly condemned. When the school was bombed in Iran, I condemned it. I made a video, right? And those children, wallahi, I felt this sorrow in my heart, just like they were my own children.
Yeah.
Right? So I agree with you on
but when we start talking, the issue that I have is it sounds like we're dehumanizing Iranians when we start talking about the differences between us. It sounds like we're trying to spread Israeli propaganda when we say things like, oh, they're Shia, oh, don't be friends with them, oh, and we're actually against the Muslim unity at that point. It starts becoming we're unintentionally standing against Muslim unity, because what we do have to understand, on one side, yes, Iran is absolutely operating within its interests.
Exactly.
The only reason it's attacking Israel and America is not because it's Salah ad-Din Ayyubi standing up for what's right.
You.
It is operating within its interests.
Look,
but at the same time, we should not, while they are helping us defeat our enemies, kick them, hurt them, attack them.
Look, neither me or nobody that I'm associated with said go and kick them and attack them.
How about why say things like Shia, we're not like, why talk even about that right now?
Good point. Because when I see people from our circles start to justify shirk, when they start saying that Shia doctrine of imams controlling every atom in the universe and giving life and death is not shirk. When I see videos and clips of people coming out and saying that them cursing Sahaba doesn't exist, even though when they're telling us that they do, or that it's okay if they curse Sahaba as long as they're helping us politically, we will justify that as not being something that's kufr and wrong and this and that, or there and many other issues that we have. This is the problem I have. Look, if you're saying that if Iran and Israel fight, we'd love to see Iran win and Israel to be decimated and the people of Palestine to be free. 100% I'm with you. As I said, I'll take it a step further. Even if it's a communist from Kim Jong-un or Putin or China's Xing, whatever his name is, right? Xi Jinping. I am 100% with anybody that will help to oppress people of Gaza.
Okay, that's good.
But the problem I'm seeing is when you start justifying shirk, when you start whitewashing crimes, when you start saying, Syria, nothing happened in Syria. What are you talking about? Iraq. Oh, no. The children that died in Syria cannot just be pushed under a carpet.
I agree.
Right? This is my problem.
Yeah. But go ahead. Let me let you finish. I apologize.
I want to make this clear.
Yes.
I'm not a political analyst. I'm not a world. You do that, barakallah feek. I'm a da'i, all right? What my field, what I understand and what I want to stay in is da'wah, right? Now, again, if my Muslim brothers and sisters anywhere, whether it's in Sudan, whether it's in Kashmir, whether it's in Palestine or anywhere are struggling, I'm with them. They're my brothers. This is a part of our aqidah and our iman to be with the Muslim ummah. Even if non-Muslims are dying, right, unjustly, I don't care if you're a Palestinian Christian or if you're a person of the Jewish faith or if you are an atheist or a Hindu and you're unjustly being killed, I'm against that because Islam is against that. But my problem is never in that. My problem gets to be when people, for a political gain, start to compromise our beliefs. When people start saying, you know what, these Shia, even if they're cursing the best of mankind after the Anbiya, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and Aisha and those great Sahaba that Allah says in the Quran that He's pleased with, that the Prophet ﷺ spoke such highly about. Abu Bakr was the one that was in the cave with the Prophet ﷺ at Hijrah. Aisha radiyallahu anha is the one whose head, the Prophet's head was on her shoulder at the last moments of his life. He's buried in her ghurfa, in her room, right? When people are saying she's finnar and they're saying la'an on her, and again, I'm not saying fight them. Well, right now we have Palestine to deal with. I'm not saying that. But when you start saying, no, they don't, no, this is my problem. Stay within just. Say that if when Israel and America attacked Iran, we support Iran's right to defend itself. If Iran wants to free Gaza, we support them in freeing Gaza. Great.
You know, I think right now we're just all on edge, and many Muslims, many of us just don't even, and non-Muslims, many of us in general just don't know what's true anymore, and we don't know who is backed by who anymore.
True.
And people are secretly being backed by all kinds of intelligence agencies, all kinds of governments.
100%.
Governments, including the United States and Europe, are cracking down on free speech in a way where they used to be the vicegerents of free speech and the ones who protected it. Now it's almost gone, and we need to push back and bring America back to being a free speech nation.
I am at the forefront of that wrath. I'm banned out of countries you couldn't even imagine that I should be banned out of. I'm banned out of Trinidad. I went to Trinidad. Like, why would Trinidad ban me? You know, when I landed, I mean, again, and this is why I don't want anybody to misunderstand and think as if like I'm getting backed by any government, right? I went to Trinidad to give da'wah. They turned me back from the airport. They said, you know, we've seen your videos. Your speaking about Palestine was my speaking about Palestine was one of the issues that they brought up.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they felt that my entering Trinidad would have so many people become Muslim that would offset their, balance. And they wrote me a paper, and we've got videos and pictures of that, right? I was turned back from entering Canada, right? I mean, Canada, a country that, pretty much is another part of the US in many view, but I was turned back, and you can see videos, and they brought me up in their parliament.
Yeah.
And my speaking out against them was one of the issues there.
Yeah.
I was, and you can see in Twitter, the right-wing shadow Home Secretary of the United Kingdom tweeted about me and banned me from entering the United Kingdom. So, I mean, I'm taking all that on. Like, it's not like, we're not taking this on. Right? And free speech, we've always stood for the haqq.
Right.
But at the same time, I want us to stay balanced. I want us to not get emotions to where we're not thinking straight. I want us to really focus on the larger picture of da'wah as well, because look, we can change America. We can change the world by the effort that we do, but we have to think strategic, right? I never compromise on my aqidah. I never compromise on the Quran and Sunnah.
Do you think that attacking Iran's aqidah and Shias during the Iran war was strategic?
So, when Iran was attacked, I posted online a condemnation of that attack. I did not attack Iran or their aqidah, right? You can see the short I posted, even though, as I explained to you offline, a lot of negative heat from government bodies came upon me from that. And I don't want to go into details there,
right.
But you know about it, right?
Right.
But I did it. And I didn't go and say, oh no, but Iran should be. No, I did it. But when it gets to a point where I see Muslim youths losing their belief set by justifying shirk, by trying to justify somebody cursing the Sahaba, by somebody
but don't
justifying...
you think that's a distraction?
This is where we do have to draw a line.
But that's a distraction point, right? Like, we have a bigger thing. We're at war, and people are debating Shia versus Sunni.
It's not an issue of debating Shia versus Sunni.
Okay.
But it is where you cannot compromise on Tawheed. This is the core. Why are we even Muslim? Because of Tawheed, because what we believe in. If it's not our belief, it's not about race. I don't care about Arab nationalism. If it's about Arab nationalism, I'm good with that. We don't even care about that. Exactly, right? In fact, I mean, this is, I think, one of the reasons we've lost so many opportunities to free Palestine, because the issue has been nationalistic by some people's standards, not Islamic. And I'll give you an example. I was invited to an event in San Diego, and I'm not going to mention whose event or anything like that, right? And they told me, we're going to have this event for Palestine. Can you come? I was like, of course. So our brothers and sisters, I'll be there. He said, but we don't want you to talk about anything Islamic. We don't want you to pray there in Jama'ah. I was like, why? I mean, I'm a Muslim. Why would I not, if it's time for Salah, why would I not pray there? They said, because we have a lot of people that we're inviting, and we're going to have people lesbian with rainbow flags, and we don't want to offend them. And we're going to do the dabka, and we're going to have music and dancing with them, right? So this is where, do you think this will bring the nusrah of Allah? And if the nusrah of Allah is not with us, then we're not going to win. If you're going to leave this to politics, we're going to lose. How did we liberate Palestine in the first place? Not because we had bigger numbers, not because we combined with mushrikeen and things like this. The Prophet ﷺ in Mecca, at a time when he was at a desperate state, a state where the Muslims were few. Imagine, like, don't think the Ummah hasn't gone through hardships. Sumayya radiallahu anha was killed in front of the Sahaba. With the spear to her, the Sumayya, the first shaheed for Islam. Yeah. In front of her husband, in front of her son. And then her husband Yasir was killed, and the Muslims were too weak to do anything. At that hard time, when the mushrikeen wanted to combine, wanted to come together, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, قُلْ يَهُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Yeah? That no, we will never compromise on what you worship and what we worship, right? Meaning that aqidah, that belief can never be compromised on, right? Now, I'm not here having fiqh debates. I'm not here like, should you pray like this or should you pray like this? No, those are things where there's valid khilaf. But if you start saying that we make dua to Ali radiyan, like in Pakistan, they have this thing where they write, Ali Sher Khuda Mushkil Kusha, Ali, the Lion of Allah, the one that solves all the hardships. Allah solves all the hardships. I'm not going to justify that. And if they're not going to bring it up and nobody else brings it up, then I'm not bringing it up. But if somebody starts to bring it up and say, no, that's okay, and that's not shirk, then I cannot compromise on the belief set.
I see.
Now, again, I want to emphasize on this. Even if any absolute mulhid atheist goes and fights Israel and is standing for Palestine, we will back them from that.
Yes.
But we will not justify their atheism.
We don't have to get emotionally attached to every strategic position we take. For example, like Mamdani. Mamdani is a strategic position for us. Obviously, I do have natural love for the brother because even as a politician, just objectively he's amazing, and as a leader objectively he's amazing, whether he's Shia, Muslim, whatever. Everyone's like, oh, Mahdi Hassan, Mamdani, they're Shia. And that's my point right there. I think Mahdi Hassan and Mamdani are my point. I care about the civilizational project. I care about who, when they hear a Muslim woman, a little girl, a little boy got killed, whose heart actually cries over that and who gets happy. Mamdani cries over that. You can tell. Mahdi Hassan cries over that. You can tell, whether physical or in their heart, right? That's what I care about. Anna Kasparian cries over that. Tucker Carlson cries over that. You are a part of our civilizational project.
I don't know if he cries over it.
Right. I'm saying metaphorically here, right?
Look, I agree with you. When Mamdani won the election, I made a video on this, right? I said, look, I don't agree with his stances, all of them, and I'm sure you don't either, right? No. I mean, I'm not going to justify him going to LGBTQ parades and going to Sikh temples and worshiping in the Sikh way and things like that. But I will be stating my happiness that somebody who at least called himself a Muslim, at minimum, he does verify that he is a Muslim. And with all the Islamophobes, and again, it's not something I'm doing for this podcast. When he first went, I already made a video on this, right? Which is that with all the Islamophobes trying every trick in the book, every Zionist trick in the book to attack him for things that me and you believe, right? And it didn't work. And he won. I'm happy about that, right? Mahdi Hassan, for example, when he did the Oxford debate, he did an excellent job debating. No problem with that. But the difference that I'm saying is, if you come and say, at least we have somebody named Muslim with a Muslim name who claims to be a Muslim, who didn't go to Israel and kiss the wall as the mayor of New York, 100% I'm with you. But if you come and tell me, when he was dancing with the LGBT and this like this, that was okay, that was good, it's okay. As Muslims, we should dance with it. That's when I'm going to be like, no, bro, we got to draw the line. And when I see our youth going into that as a da'i, then from an aqidah perspective, we have to draw lines.
I didn't look into your situation with Daniel Hakikachu, but is that what that was involving? Is this scenario? I mean, here's the thing.
It definitely was, and this is the whole point. Is when we, and again, I've already discussed it with him, and I don't want to go back over this, but the issue that I had was when you start saying things like the Shia with wilayah takwiniya, saying that their imams control every atom of the universe is not shirk, right? When you start saying that they don't curse the Sahaba, even though they're sitting in front of you saying, we definitely do, even if we don't do it in front of you for political reason, right? When we have videos and audios of not just one or two or three or four, I mean, all over, right? Don't go there. If you were just saying, look, if Iran's fighting Israel, may Allah make it that Palestine is freed at anybody's hand, I'll back you on that. And that's why I've kept that consistent. When Iran was attacked, I made that video. I didn't go into Shia and did no. I said, look, this is wrong. They didn't attack anybody. Why would you attack them? And this is to serve Israel's interest, and it put the whole region at risk.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the whole region's on fire. The whole economies of the region. People are dying in the entire Middle East. People that their lives, I feel for, whether they're in Iran, whether they're in Abu Dhabi, those Indian workers that got killed that were just trying to, you know,
they're under our protection as Muslims in our land. The religious conversations need to be had separately than the political conversations
100%?
In this case.
Sure.
Because it felt like it was being conflated in whatever conversations people were having before this podcast.
And I want to just mention one thing before we move forward on this as well, and is what Iran did in Syria openly. And I'm not talking about some, you know, online, which, I mean, you can see videos of them. I mean, right now they have in Syria, they have the trials going on of the Assad regime. And if you read the transcripts of them, they will tell you, right? Chemical weapons that were used on children, like Muslim children. I just feel really sad when people have just kind of like swiped that under the rug.
I will be fair though, that one thing that I thought was one thing that I was shocked that you said on Haqq Choose or whoever's live stream that was the other week.
My live stream, but yeah.
And is that Iran killed more Muslims in the UAE. Iran killed more Muslims than Israel.
Okay.
We fact checked that, and that's not true.
So tell me.
Yeah, Israel in Iraq. Obviously, I will give credit to Israel for the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War.
That's interesting.
And the
So
Sudan War.
You don't think
and
Iran
Gaza.
was involved in those wars as well?
So I'll get to Iran in a second. I'm pretty fair. I don't care.
Good. I like fair. I'm with you.
So Israel, with its total body count in the Middle East, is around 4.6 million to 7 million. Iran's total body count in the Middle East is around 750,000.
How'd you get those numbers? That's interesting.
Because
So
I'm actually adding all of Syria's deaths to Iran's body count.
Okay.
If you go in, because Iraq was Iraq's fault. Iraq was the one that attacked. Iraq's the one that attacked Iran.
So I'm not talking about the Iran-Iraq war.
Okay.
I'm talking about when the U.S. invaded Iraq.
Okay.
Right.
And so even those numbers, American sources, American and Zionist sources say, to be fair, the Iranians had minimal impression on the death toll in Iraq and minimal impression on the death toll in Syria. But because I agree with you on Syria, I actually added the entire body count of the death toll to Iran's resume.
Okay. So
bad resume.
The Iraq war.
Yes.
Right?
You're gonna add Iraq to Iran's
100%.
portfolio?
Let me.
Okay.
So the regime that took over when Iran came, where were they in exile before they took over?
The regime that took over when Iran came, they were in Paris.
They were in Iran, actually.
The regime that took over when Iran came?
When the U.S. invaded Iraq.
Oh, when the U.S. invaded Iraq.
Yes.
Okay.
The 3 million Iraqis that are killed in that war.
Okay.
Right? Where was that? The Shia regime that took over after the U.S. took over, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were in exile in Iran.
Okay.
Those political parties like Muqtada Sadr and all those guys, are they not backed by Iran? Those death squads that went around killing Sunnis? I personally know people. I'm not talking about some online searches or things that I'm doing. Personally know people like our Badr Karrar, who's a da'i with us from Iraq. His father was killed by those that were in Iran during Saddam's time. When Saddam was toppled, with intelligence help from Iran that Iran has openly admitted to. I'm not talking about some, report from a Georgetown or something. Iran has said, we supported, and I have video on that same stream that I played, from Ahmadinejad and others that said, they sat in the White House and talked about how they helped the United States in Iraq to topple that regime. Those death squads supported by militias that were clearly, openly funded by Iran. Not talking about some back-end conspiracies. I'm talking about, look at Muqtada Sadr. Where was he? Where were all these Shia leaders before right?
Can we get the numbers on? So you're saying these fire squads, these Shia-backed fire
Death
squads,
squads.
death
Yeah.
squads in Iraq.
What I'm saying is, if you take Iraq, the war there, if you take Syria,
Okay.
and now interesting that you brought Afghanistan up, because Ahmadinejad, also at that time was the prime minister of Iran, clearly said in a video that we helped America in Afghanistan.
Okay.
Right? So the death toll from Afghanistan should also go when they're openly saying they did it.
But here's the thing that I would say, that they are minimalizing the Gaza. Like, look at the Gaza death tolls. They're saying 171,000 injuries and 71,000 deaths. I think that the Gaza death toll is in the 300,000, 400,000.
Hence why I think we should verify these kinds of information when they're being posted and not take it at face value.
Yeah. Can you get summary of all of this? Let's not read through it. Just get us the summary.
Just say need totals.
Give me summary
between those two.
Okay. Wow.
Let me just read this. So, Israel, they are saying, and again,
these numbers aren't accurate.
That's what I'm saying. I think. Can you not scroll? Yeah. So I think we need to look at these obviously in more detail and understand who's responsible. But let's just, since you requested it, Israel death count is at, according to this, Claude, 150,000 to a high of 220,000. The majority being post October 2023. Iran's death count at a low is between 50 to 80,000 and a high of 250,000 to 300,000. So
if you assign Syrian regime civilian killings to Iran's backing.
Yeah, which we already did.
But we can assign Syrian killings to Israel, and we can assign Iraq to Israel.
So this is not including Iraq, because obviously Iraq's over 1 million even after the invasion, and 3 million altogether. So even this stat that you pulled up shows Iran killing more. And again, I'm not saying that this is what we should go by, but your stat on your Claude shows Iran killing more.
It does.
And I believe if we really dig deep into it, including the death squads, including which weren't even like proxy wars. These were people that were based out of Iran, killing people in Iraq. You know, when we look at the deaths in Afghanistan, which is not being included in here as well, where Iran openly said they helped the U.S. and the U.S. thanked Iran for it, right? Look, in the end, why do we need to back either one?
We don't have to back it. We're not pro either one. But I'm just making sure that we because it's David Wormser and Israel's think tank, and through Dick Cheney creating a separate cabinet vis-a-vis the government, therefore creating a separate government because Bush was too stupid to outsmart Dick Cheney, and Dick Cheney put a bunch of neocons, including David Wormser, and these neocons are Jews. All of them are Jews, actually, and they're the ones that created the clean break strategy. 7 countries in 5 years, killing 7 Muslim countries in 5 years. Can you search this up? And it's Syria, Iraq, Iran, Sudan, Yemen, Lebanon, and Libya. 7 countries in 5 years. From that point on, that's literally been the track they start off. They got Syria, they got Iraq, they're trying to get it on right now. Right. They got Sudan, they got Yemen, Lebanon's on its way, and Libya they got.
That's true.
So I attribute all of that to Israel, and I don't think Iran has done anywhere near what
So, I mean, let's just talk about that, right? In Syria, which you just mentioned, right? What was the instrument that killed all those people? Was it the IDF going in, or was it Irani military personnel? So the Syrian regime, not just through financial or some kind of back-end maybes, through actual boots on the ground. And like I said, I know Syrians myself personally. I'm not talking about, I don't just go by, this was in the Wall Street Journal. I'm talking about people that are Muslim that I know myself that were tortured in Syria by Farsi-speaking Irani soldiers.
Yeah, but Muslims get tortured by Sunni governments all the time.
Again, that's not a justification. What I'm saying is, when you're talking about this plan to destroy, right? Iran's been part of that. Like, Iran was the tool used in Syria, and may Allah give Syria a better day today. And again, even the current Syrian government, I'm not saying support them. I don't know them, right? But I cannot not mention that was done by the same regime that we're talking about.
I think it's valid what you're saying.
In the end,
I think it's valid what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't want to keep going over the same thing over and over. Right. anybody that stands up for Gaza, we hope that they will be successful in freeing the people of Gaza. If it doesn't matter who they are, right? Because the people of Gaza are oppressed, and I have been banned out of countries because of speaking for this, and I will continue to speak for this, and I'm not scared of it. At the same time, I think it's very important for us not to start justifying things that are Islamically unjustified because of that, right? We draw that line, I think we're good.
And in a critical moment where Americans are searching for the truth in every walk of their life, whether it's politics, spirituality, history, and everything in between, here at the Ansari Podcast, we have built a place where ideas and thoughts are explored deeply. But the truth is, we can't do this alone. The Ansari team needs your help to sustain the show we have now and to take it to the next level to compete with mainstream media and beyond. We need the Ummah to invest in itself. Join us on our website or our Patreon. Helping us is like buying one pistachio latte a month, and wallahi, it makes all the difference. Thank you guys, and enjoy the show. One thing that I saw, like, I liked what Sneeko did with his live with you, is one thing I kind of saw you, and you didn't, I don't think you did it on purpose, because it's true that it was Christian nationalists who shot up San Diego Islamic Center, or Islamic Center of San Diego. But I think we're at a point now where any Muslim and Christian disunity I consider to be Zionist propaganda.
Ooh.
I am completely for Muslim and Christian unity. I would much rather Christians become religious Christians than atheist, demonic Christians.
I agree with you.
And non-Christian. So I don't want to...
But again, I think
Yeah.
I think the line there is that if somebody's saying that we are white supremacists and they're saying that this is a crusade and they're hanging crosses, then to deny that fact is also delusional, right? I'm not saying that there wasn't Zionist propaganda in the back that worked on them. I agree with you there, right?
Right.
And much of what we see from these, so-called Christian fundamentalists is really Zionist plots, right? And I
They
agree
are.
with you there. But I also think that it's not fair to the victims, those innocent people that lost their lives in Shuhada, inshallah, that we deny the fact that these were white, Christian, nationalistic, racist, white supremacy promoting people.
Yeah.
I think if you deny that, then you're denying part of the truth there, what really happened. They were hanging crosses. In their manifesto, they spoke about
But
their
I think we have to say the
ethnic-
full thing, right? Which is they are white Christian nationalists that were propagandaed by the Zionist regime, and perhaps there is credible sourcing, maybe even the UAE. That's the full picture. That's what I like to be honest about.
But you said you like to be honest, right? So let's go on facts, right? Their manifesto, 75-page manifesto, right? I'm just going on facts. They even bash Jews in it, right? So have you read it?
No.
Oh, I think you should. It's very interesting, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So we can't deny facts, right?
Yeah.
To tie those two shooters to the UAE, again, I think it's kind of scapegoating here, to be honest, unless we can bring some facts and really tie them in, right? But like I said, what they said and what they did and what was very clear, what was factual, we have video eyewitness accounts we can speak about. What might be in the background, we can definitely keep an open mind and research and look into. I have no problem with that. Do I believe that there are Zionist sources that were probably sources of things that influenced them? Very possibly, and I have no doubt that that's a possibility. But right now, from what we know, from what they wrote themselves and what they were wearing and what they were live streaming and showing, is these were white supremacists. These were people who believed in white supremacy of their race. These were people who were trying to start a race war. In fact, in their manifesto, they were talking about Jews and their hatred for Jews more than they even talked about Muslims.
But
right?
they probably don't even know that they're heavily influenced by Jewish propaganda.
Exactly. But this is the important part. You need to look at facts. You need to look at what they said, what they did, and not swipe that under the rug and be like, no, this we cannot talk about the fact that there were Christians for Christian Muslim unity. No, we have to be honest to those people that were killed by these terrorists and say these were white supremacist, Christian nationalist terrorists who very clearly said so. Right? Now, I will agree with you that Zionists have been funding a lot of these so-called Christians to
billions of dollars.
And if you can tie that to them, no problem with
that's
that.
not a tie, but you can. If you buy Coca-Cola, if someone buys Coca-Cola, you can kind of tie it to a Coca-Cola ad at some point, you know.
100%. But if somebody's, buying RC Cola and you're like, well, Coke did kind of promote the whole Coca-Cola thing, then you're stretching, right? So, I mean, these people in their manifesto are saying that we are Christians. They're wearing crosses. They are saying we believe our race is superior.
How do we protect ourselves? Because there was a shooting, I believe, an attempt today.
Yes, in Minnesota.
In Minnesota. Right? Alhamdulillah, nothing came out of it. But I mean, Muslims are under attack.
We are.
I've been trying to strategize lately because, you know what? I want to be, if Allah put me in a position of, and I think if someone has followers online, then Allah has put you in a position of leadership. And if Allah puts you in a position of leadership, think about your people. I'm so tired 100%. Of leaders not thinking about their people.
100%.
So I mean, I'm not going to give myself credit, but at least I do try to think about my people.
As you should.
And I was like, man, what are my people going to do? How are they going to defend themselves? I mean, these kids, these little girls and boys were about to get murdered. Muslim kids.
140 to 150 little children. I think we go back to the whole thing with our brother Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. You need to defend and protect yourself by any means necessary within the law, obviously. We're not telling anybody to break the law, but in this country, we have a constitution, and part of that constitution is the Second Amendment, and that is the right to bear arms. And this idea that we're just going to wait on law enforcement is too late. When the law enforcement showed up in San Diego, it was already after the fact. The two Christian terrorists, the white supremacists, had killed themselves, and according to many reports, they had been hit by our brother Amin, and that's why they ran, and they didn't continue, and then they were unable to get to the students because of our brother.
It was an armed Muslim man that protected those children.
And I believe that he should have been armed with something heavier than what he had. And I had given that suggestion. Anyway, so for sure, I think.
And we talked about this on our live stream for members that
we did.
Every Muslim man should own legally a weapon.
And should know how to use it to defend legally within the law to defend himself and his household and his family. I think it's very, very important that Muslim men step up, and Muslim men have become very soft nowadays. They're very much just keyboard warriors now. They can't even defend their own wives and daughters, let alone the Muslim community. I'm not even saying just security guards. I'm saying every Muslim should be within the law, ready to defend themselves and their community and the innocent. As we saw our brother in Australia that stopped, a guy. Even though he didn't even have a weapon, he stopped a guy that was shooting up a place. And I don't know if you saw it.
He stopped a guy shooting up Jews.
Yes, and he protected people of the Jewish faith, because in Islam we believe in protecting the sanctity of all people that are not combatant places of worship, as the Prophet ﷺ forbid attacking of places of worship and non-combatants, women, children, elderly, and so on. So when we look at that today, how many Muslim men even know, forget about just owning a gun, but know how to shoot a gun? Just buying a gun is not the solution, right? Having the bravery at that moment to be able to as our brother Amin, may Allah grant him Jannah, did, where he realized he was going to be outgunned. These guys had semi-automatic rifles, even with just a little side handgun, he took them on. And he was able to repel them enough that they didn't go in and kill a lot of other people, right? Yeah. Even if one life is lost, that is way too many, right? But having said that, the bravery this brother showed saved hundreds, right? So I'm a strong believer in the Second Amendment. I believe in Muslim men and even women learning how to shoot guns, learning how to be safe with guns within the law of the land and the laws that we have and the constitution that we have. I don't know why we think the Second Amendment's only for the non-Muslims, right? Yeah. I don't understand that, right?
It's crazy.
Many of our imams are scared to speak about this, but I think we cannot be. We owe it to our viewers and our congregations to teach them to defend themselves.
We owe it to our people, our kids. We were going to lose a bunch of my nieces and nephews go to school here in America.
Yeah. I mean,
none of us are far from this.
My own children went to that same masjid's Sunday Quran schools. My very close friends, like our brother Abu Ibrahim, who's a da'i with One Message Foundation, his son was inside that school that day.
Something that, for those who dehumanize us, one message I have for them is that Muslims don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't get high, we don't do cocaine, the only dopamine we have is from cologne, our partners, and our children. That is the only drug.
Prayers.
And our prayer, yes. But like in the world, in the worldly sense, taking a Muslim's child away from them, there is no drinking they can run away to. There's strictly pain. Just even thinking of a Muslim mother losing her child. I mean, I could have only imagined what those moms and fathers were feeling when they got that call that there's a shooter at their 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old school. It's insane. This is not, what I need people to understand is we are not in a peaceful place. You do not have the liberty as a Muslim to be casually a doctor and casually a nurse and casually a sales technician who all you do is 9 to 5, go back home and do nothing else.
100%.
We are under attack.
We are. And I'll say this. Right now, as a Muslim in America, and I'm talking about myself, we are being demonized by our own government, our own president. We are demonized by the media. The mass media constantly spreading fake news and false information against Muslims. We are demonized by think tanks that have billions of dollars being put into demonizing Muslims. We are being attacked on the streets, where Muslim women, just coming out of Walmarts and stuff are being shot at just for being visibly Muslim. Our places of worships are being attacked and then being mocked. Those attacks are being mocked by people who are advisors to the White House. Having said that, I don't believe that we need to hide our identities. I do not believe that we should be cowarding. My wife, my kids, I live in the US, and I will not be ashamed of being a Muslim. I will not be scared of being openly and very visibly a Muslim. My wife is a munaqqaba. She's going to wear niqab, and my children are going to be with me wearing thawbs and representing Islam in our daily lives, in how we speak, and how we dress, and how we look. And we're going to continue giving da'wah in the streets openly, even if it costs us our lives. And if we don't, then we will destroy the next generation. If we cower and we become scared and we start to hide, then we will not allow the next generation to flourish. The sacrifices we make now will affect the future. The people who fought for civil liberties amongst African Americans, the hardships they went through allowed there to be then greater rights and freedoms for their children to come. Imagine if Malcolm X had, and people like even Martin Luther King and others had not taken those steps and not sacrificed their lives, then the African Americans wouldn't have the rights today. Even if we look at other communities, we look at people that went through those hardships, but then the future is brighter for their generation. So we will stand, and we must stand firm and protect ourselves within the laws and work with law enforcement to keep places of worship safe. We appreciate the law enforcement that reacted to this by what they're doing now. We don't want to.
That police chief said beautiful words.
I mean, even the local FBI, the police, they showed up in big forces.
Yeah.
Now, were there red flags missed prior to this? We'll find out as the news comes out. I can tell you that if those teenagers were Muslims and they had reports called on them, then no doubt they would have been picked up and thrown away somewhere.
I think that's something that we have to, sorry not to cut you off, Sheikh, that we have to do. We have to call in San Diego's police force, San Diego's local FBI building, San Diego's mayor, and ask for an investigation. Make sure that we know what happened. No, but we got to follow up follow up and follow up so that they know that this is not something. Muslims are not saying that 1 to 3 people, just alhamdulillah, no, 1 to 3. We are not saying that. We want to know why they were killed, how they were killed, what part of intelligence where the loophole was, or where they didn't get something right, or did someone allow this? How did this happen? We have to dig into this.
I think, again, I want to give credit where credit is due, right? We as Muslims are fair and just. The investigation that's coming out of it seems very extensive, and the police showed up in force. I mean, there was probably like 300 police cars that showed up, right? And the FBI and everybody did show up. But we need to have a question that's a bigger question on a national level, even not just a local, but on a national level. What is the Federal Bureau and what is Mr. Patel doing to stop this rise in Islamophobia and this threat against Muslims that is carrying out every day? Like you just said, I mean, this week we had the shooting in San Diego. Already we had somebody that tried, and even though they were stopped, but they were armed and they attacked a mosque in Minnesota. So this is a trend that's coming up. What is at a federal, why is our president quiet? If this was a Muslim that had attacked a synagogue, or a Muslim that had attacked a church, or a McDonald's, he would have been up in arms. And I know he likes McDonald's, so right? Why is it that when it's about Muslims and it's like, well, we'll look into it real hard.
Why.
Yeah.
But
we have to call it out.
Yeah.
And on a national level and local level, all the way up.
Yeah.
And in the end, we also have to remember that we need to defend ourselves.
Yeah. But we can't take this one lightly. If we take this one lightly, they're going to say we can just kill more and more of them. And just like Palestine, just like everywhere, they'll let it go. The media will cover the next thing. We have to make sure we get to the bottom of this. When Jews get killed, it is the biggest deal in the world.
Right.
And you know who makes it a big deal? They do.
They do.
How come you make it a big deal when Jews get killed? Because they make it a big deal.
Exactly.
They value their own lives.
See, this is my point. I'm sick of people just complaining.
Yes.
Blaming others and blaming this and blaming that. Why are we individually not doing anything?
Yeah, like,
right?
Do you care that Amin Abdullah got killed?
Did you write an email to the FBI headquarters saying this is concerning?
Yeah.
Did you call the White House? Did you? Because I did. Because I'm writing emails myself.
Really?
Right?
Very nice.
From One Message Foundation.
Because I know Rebecca. Yeah. I know Rebecca Silverstein. Hypothetically, if it was 3 of her synagogue members that got killed, I know Rebecca's calling.
I don't know who Rebecca is.
Rebecca's just a common Jewish woman.
Oh, all right, sorry. I thought it was like an actual person, and I was like, I mean,
I'll do Sarah Silverstein. How about that?
It's not just that.
Yeah.
I mean, any other community.
No. But the Jews are very active. Jewish Americans are very active in this. And I'm not doing this. Is not conspiratorial. This is not actually like hate speech.
Those are facts.
These are just, they are good at this.
Yeah.
Learn from them.
As they should be.
They should be. They're doing it right.
You know, we should be concerned about our communities as that is. But
they protect themselves.
Even, and I'm sorry to say this, but many of the imams are just more worried about getting accepted at the interfaith gatherings than they are about protecting Muslim lives. Like they just want to get those hugs and sympathy and things like that. Why aren't we training our, not just paid security, but our masjids people that look, you know, in my masjid, you know, during Ramadan and things, we had a whole drill. Like, because, you know, we were like, okay, if we get attacked, where are we going to go? How are we going to go? How are we going to lock down? And regular people in the masjid knew that how we would defend ourselves. We didn't have paid security. If you are a man and somebody breaks into your house and they're about to harm your family, those statistics will mean nothing to you.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care. The reason people have so many gun accidents because they're not gun people.
Yes.
They don't know gun safety. My father taught me gun safety when I was 5-6 years old. I taught my sons and daughters gun safety when they were 5-6 years old. Why? Because that is a responsible gun owner, right? You never point a gun at anybody unless you're really in a situation where you're going to, you never put your finger on the trigger until you shoot. You always treat a gun like it's loaded. You always check if it's chambered. You keep those safeties there so you don't have that kind of insanity, right?
Yes.
But if you think we don't need it, then tell me, if that Amin Abdullah didn't have at least a sidearm, what would have happened to all those children?
Dead.
Where's all those statistics now? Where are all those liberals and those, you know, left, whatever, blah, 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 talking points? Where are they now?
Yeah.
Right? Imagine, now again, I don't like to go in hindsight or anything. I'm just making a point here. If more people were better armed at that masjid, if we had a rifle on site, if we could have, you know, then even those 3 would have been alive today. Qadar Allah, I'm not, like, again, we don't go back, but I'm saying is to learn a lesson from it.
Yeah.
Right? I am sick and tired of people telling me these kind of nonsense. Oh, gun crime and this and this and this. If you take guns away, gun deaths go away. Yeah, that's like saying if you take cars away, accidents go away. But does crime drop? Absolutely not. Look at the United Kingdom. People stab each other just as much as people shoot each other, and just as many people are dying from stabbing. Those stabbings are just as dangerous, and they're killing just as many people. So what are you going to take knives away now? Like in the UK, I know a brother. He's a chef, and he was a chef, and he got arrested for having a knife on him. And then he had to prove that he was a chef, and he got. But I mean, where are you going to stop?
Yeah.
And these young men that carried out this terrorist attack, and I don't care if the media doesn't want us to call it that, we're going to call it that. They got their weapons illegally, meaning they were not old enough to have those weapons. That means if you want to get to weapons, you know which country has some of the strictest gun laws in the world?
No.
Mexico. Some of the Google it, go look it up. Some of the strictest gun laws in the world. Do you know where the top 5 of the top 10 murderous cities in the world are? Mexico.
Yeah.
Tijuana, Juarez, Sinaloa. Go look it up. The cartel has every gun under the book. You got enough money, you can buy a gun anywhere in the world. You can
buy
3D
them from
print.
America.
Yeah, they bought them from America. The FBI sold it to them, right?
Yeah.
They got the receipts. But even in countries with very strict gun laws, you can get guns. You can 3D print a gun, right? You could use a car. You could use a knife. That's not the point. You have to address the core issue. Right? The core issue is this hate that's being spread by the likes of Elon Musk, the likes of Tommy Robinson, the likes of Laura Loomer, the likes of Jake Lang, and all these hate preachers, that are promoting this kind of violence. That's what has to be addressed.
Yeah.
And until they do, we have to defend ourselves.
Yeah. And we have to do honestly, the 3 action items is make sure that we get to the bottom of these investigations, make sure we're not quiet about them.
Yes.
Hold that mayor, that Todd that got called out by that white woman. I loved it. I loved every part of that she was saying the Muslims tried to reach out to you again and again and again, and you did nothing, Todd, right? That's what he needs to hear. He needs to be shamed. Every single politician, anyone who allowed this to happen, so that people know there's consequences for Muslim deaths. And the second thing needs to be to arm yourselves in a legal way. Each state has its own legal laws.
Safe.
Make sure that you are following your local state's laws for when it comes to guns. And then the third thing is, what was it there? What was it? We had a third thing.
First thing is to be proactive as well.
Oh, the dawah.
Yeah.
The third thing is a dawah is we need to be reaching out to these young guys
that
are white supremacists in the trailer parks.
100%.
How many of us have actually went and talked to them? They say Islamophobia decreases by 80% when a person meets a Muslim once.
Wow.
When a person meets a Muslim
Repeat
once. Islamophobia decreases by 80% when a non-Muslim meets a Muslim just once in their life.
That is deep.
We need to.
That's very deep.
I went into the boonies of New Mexico. Israeli flags everywhere. These guys living in slums and trailer parks. None of them are Jews. And I'm like, what is going on? We need to reach these people.
I so support what you're saying. Again, the 3 points, right? We need to be proactive, right? It's not just, okay, in San Diego it happened, so now, no. Every city, every town in America, Muslims need to reach out right now, right? And tell their law enforcement, what are you doing to stop Islamophobia? Call the FBI, call the police station, call your local officials, call the White House on a national level, on a local level. We need to be proactive with this. Muslims are very reactive. We need to stop these kind of things from before it's happening. A single Muslim death or single innocent death of any faith is not acceptable, right? Secondly, as you said, within the laws, we need to be armed. We need to know how to use those safely. Gun safety is very important, right? We don't want accidents. We don't want people misusing firearms. Within the law, we need to learn how to effectively use them and make sure that our masajid are protected. Make sure our houses are protected, community centers are protected, where it's not just, okay, we have a security guard. No, like you need to have people there that know how to defend and with proper weaponry within the law, right? Yeah. And the last thing that you said about da'wah, this is something everybody can do. Look, Muslims that are changing their names, that are hiding their identity, that are ashamed of who they are, that are trying to fit in and not, even if you're a great person but nobody knows you're Muslim, you're not doing anything for us, right? You need to represent yourself as Muslim. You need to have conversations at work and in your school with your neighbors. Eid al-Adha is coming up, give some sweets, share the Eid with your neighbors, let them know, you need to take a stand. Yes, we don't celebrate Christmas. Why? Because this is not a part of any religious tradition. Yes, we do celebrate Eid. Why? Because look at the Quran, look at the Hadith, we'll show you evidence, right? We need to be able to have these firm conversations and be firm on our deen. And I'm telling you, from personal experience, even some of the worst Islamophobes will become Muslims. And if they don't, at least, like you said, their Islamophobic ideas will be washed away. I'll just mention one last thing. I was on a flight, and I had this gentleman next to me. It was from Atlanta to San Diego, or San Diego to Atlanta, actually. I was going back. And this gentleman was from Georgia, from a very rural area. And he had the cowboy hat, the cowboy tie, he had the whole outfit. Older gentleman sat next to me, started talking. And he was like, "Are you Muslim?" And I was like, "Yes." And he's like, "Is it true that Muslims teach their children how to behead, children by beheading dolls?" I was like, "Absolutely not. Where did you get that?" He goes, "I heard." I said, "Where did you hear it?" Like, just like I challenged you, I challenged him. "Where did you hear it?" "Well, I saw it on this article." "Where did the article get it from?" Where is the actual eyewitness? And then he realized that he was being fed lies. And we had this long flight, from San Diego to Atlanta. By the end of the flight, he was inviting me to his farm. He was like, "I cannot believe that this Israeli propaganda had me thinking like this about people that agree so much on so many values." When I talked about what we believe about Jesus and what the Jewish faith teaches about Jesus, he was shocked. He didn't think about it. The fact that, according to Jewish belief, Jesus was born out of wedlock, out of illicit relations, and Mary was I don't want to use those kind of words that they use in the Talmud and so on, but we believe that she was a virgin, a pure, a pious woman, and Jesus was born miraculously as a great prophet of Allah, right? When he realized that in that conversation, it changed his whole worldview. So why don't we do that more often?
I 100% agree with everything you said, because I think we are at a very interesting point. The collapse of Zionist propaganda rule over the United States has left a void. The fact that truth has no longer become what is greatest, what is most seen by Americans from their elites. Americans are seeking truth somewhere. They're looking everywhere for it. Muslims need to come in and fill that void ethically and beautifully, not because we seek power, but because we genuinely want to be sources of truth, sources of morality, sources of, yes, your daughter did just get killed, and yes, that is horrific, right? So that people don't feel like they're going insane. I feel like a lot of Americans are going insane. These kids that are shooting up schools and everything. I mean, it's hard, even as a Muslim, not to go insane in these times, and we have the Quran and Allah. So those who don't have it, imagine how much they're going through it, right? We have to be there for them, to fill the void in their hearts and in their minds because of what has left them with the elites and this Epstein's class that has betrayed them.
100%. And I think Muslims need to use social media effectively for the sake of Allah, for Islam, not just for their own personal growth and things like this, because this is the key to showing the world the reality that was swiped under the rug when big media or what they call, organizations would just be spewing Zionist propaganda. When people saw the videos out of Gaza, when they saw with their own eyes what was going on in those countries across the world, it woke people up, right? We have broken the back of all those big organizations like Fox and CNN and this and this and this, which control the narrative. We have a voice now. Let's use it.
Use it. Sheikh Uthman ibn Farooq, my honored guest.
Barakallah feek, Mahmoud. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, my pleasure's all mine. Thank you so much
Akramakallah.
for joining the Ansari Podcast once again.
Inshallah, we'll be back soon.
Inshallah, ameen. And thank you guys for listening to the Ansari Podcast. Assalamu alaikum.